it can be a very different story. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Twisted Fate for xiye in the last game. I felt he's a little bit quiet on it, but I think certainly coming into today, LGD will be looking to use that veterancy and crush the newbies.
Look at the bans. Kramer has done well enough on the Ashe to justify a target ban of it from V5. Now that is presence in the bot lane.
That most certainly is. It will mean, though, Aphelios is going to be locked in straight off the bat by Biubiu. LGD going to go with the Syndra. Again, this has been super strong in the mid lane. You don't have too many bad matchups, and even the counter matchups aren't really an issue, but has that flexibility to go down towards the bottom lane as well. So LGD keeping their options open. Could go for the Graves here as their next lock-in, and you set up really well for this kind of front to back stall team fight where you can have Syndra start to poke and prod in these fights with all those different spheres on the ground.
Yeah, you got the Graves and the Trundle also still available as well. Those are the two kind of highest priority junglers that we've seen, with Jarvan and Lee Sin kind of trickling in behind them. On the other side, though, we'll see where V5 want to go with this draft.
And just a reminder to people, we're still on patch 10.11. We haven't hit patch 10.12, so you won't see the Trundle nerfs coming in just yet. So he still has that 30% movement speed on his W, which is going to be super nice here for whatever the jungle matchup is. I wouldn't be surprised, though, to, I was going to say go towards the Graves. It works very well against the Trundle and can really be a pain for Peanut in this. But Weiwei opting instead, it looks like to go for the Ekko jungle, so, or we could actually see the Ekko going mid for Mole against the Syndra. So you've still got the flexibility here for V5.
Well, we've got a playmaker locked in for the ppgod himself. He's going to be taking Thresh to the bottom lane, and we've seen him and SamD popping off, especially when ppgod has this Thresh to start the fights with.
And this is the big thing. It's been all about the playmaking in the bottom lane for ppgod. Either the Thresh or the Bard have been his most impactful. The Taric we saw wasn't the best, so I'm delighted to see now you've got the Aphelios, you've got this Thresh. It's comfort in the bottom lane for SamD and ppgod.
They are up against an Ezreal, though, so Kramer should be relatively safe even against ppgod's Thresh, so long as he can figure out where those death sentences are going and all of that like. But looking towards the bans here, we've got top laners galore being removed. Renekton and Ornn, both of them trying to pinch the top lane pools.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to see now how we start to go forward. I wouldn't be surprised to see V5 tend towards some of those support bans as well, just because it'll be nice to get rid of something that can pair well with the Ezreal, the likes of the Yuumi we've been seeing a lot of, or anything that can be a bit of a nuisance against that Thresh and the Aphelios. Karma, another one that can be flexed again towards that bottom lane, and a good call here for V5.
Interesting to see that LGD's priority when it comes to the jungle is banning Lee Sin over something like the Graves. Despite Graves being such high presence on this patch, not really fearing what Weiwei can offer there.
I think here as well, LGD picking up the Wukong is going to give them a super strong team fight. We already talked about how good these guys are when it comes to their coordination in the team fight. So having Langx as this initiator has worked very well for them in their last series against E-Star. I want to see him do it now again on this Wukong pick.
Looking towards the top laner to match up against this Wukong, though, we'll see where Biubiu opts into. When you think of Biubiu, you often think of things like the Aatrox, the Mordekaiser as well. Going to be exceptionally good, especially if he's playing on the weak side.
Now, I really like if V5 go for this Graves. So when we're looking at this, you've got really strong scaling on V5 side with the Aphelios, with that Ekko, Graves, and Mordekaiser. So you're in a little bit of a pinch of LGD where you're now putting yourselves on a timer in this game to go, we need to make these plays happen, because Syndra will start to fall off after those two items. Same with the Wukong and that Ezreal as well. So now LGD need to make these mid-game fights happen.
Hovering on the Bard right now. When you think of Mark, you do think of the aggressive supports, things like the Leona that he's hovering, things like the Nautilus as well. And it is going to be the Leona in the end. So I think answering the lack of engage that they were looking at the time.
Well, you say that, but there's still a good bit there with the Wukong and this Syndra. My eyes is more towards Mark going, okay, I'm going to roam. I'm going to get towards mid lane. Ekko, if we can lock him up, well, Leona can follow up very effectively, and we can try and burst him out, especially before he hits that level 6 and has that revert on the ults. But overall, LGD, this very strong spike at around those two items where they can start to fight for these mid-game objectives like 2nd to 3rd Dragon. Whereas when we look at V5, there's no real pressure on them to try and make anything happen. You're going to end up outscaling in that Ekko and in the Mordekaiser, and you can even opt in towards this 1-4 with Ekko putting pressure on the side lane while the rest of your team start to go aggressive elsewhere.
can see the coaches bowing to one another as we get this game underway. And I'm very excited for Mole on the Ekko in this mid lane. He's up against xiye Syndra. He has the counter pick, and Mole is the guy that this team has been built around. He's the one consistent member from Spring Split, and he's, you know, in some of those spring games, a little bit troll, but here in summer, it feels like he's turned it on, and I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do up against a veteran like xiye.
Especially for Mold, his Zoe, his kind of these mid-game spikes have been super good as champion-wise. So I think Syndra's going to fit right into that pool and give him a little bit more to work with when it comes to these fights. We said around the third Drake, and that's where I want to see him starting to move out of this lane as well, because don't forget, you've got a lot of push pressure as this Ekko, and I think you can do a lot of work if you can get down towards that bottom side.
We'll see if the bottom side is where the action is going to kick off, but it's time to start our series here. V5 starting us off on the blue side up against LGD on the red, and we'll see what the rookies can do up against the veterans of LGD.
V5 looking to put themselves firmly into that first place spot, but we talked about in a couple of games past for V5, it has felt like we're constantly testing the gauge with them. Starting with DMO, okay, you look good, let's put you up against OMG. Right, you passed that with flying colors, let's move you on to LGD now. Let's see how you do against some of the best the LPL has been able to put forward in recent years.
So taking a look across the board at the runes, everything looking relatively standard, to be quite honest, nothing too crazy. Obviously, Phase Rush has drastically come into the meta. A lot of junglers, a lot of mid laners starting to take that one. But Graves and Trundle, this is the expected rune you'd see.
Let's go see them all opting for the Electrocutes. More of the Dark Harvest comes in when you're looking towards junglers and you're looking to scale, but when you're trying to trade aggressively against the Syndra, the Electrocute does so well in helping you to win out this lane and have such a big impact in this game.
We'll see where V5 are going to go with this one, and I'm excited to see the aggression from this team, because when we talked about these two teams, and we said, you know, LGD especially, they're willing to fight you, they want to fight you, but typically it was around the mid game, it wasn't necessarily early aggression. V5, on the other hand, they've kind of been very, very aggressive from the word go each and every game we've seen.
And I think we're going to see a very similar story in this game. So you've got Weiwei here, who's going to be winning out of the jungle matchup, and you've got this aggressive bottom lane as well in Samdi and ppgod. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Weiwei trying to play down towards this bottom side as he has done in series past. Try and get a couple of those dragons up and under their belt before you have Kramer come on with his 2 items. Same before you have this Syndra unlock the Luden's Ekko, and try and just use the aggressive bottom lane that they have just with the AD carry matchup that's there.
Don't forget, tomorrow we've got our match of the week. You see it in the bottom left there. JD up against Top Esports. That is going to be an absolute barn burner between those two teams. Make sure you are tuning in for that one tomorrow. It'll be the last game of the day tomorrow. And I guess it'll be kind of a decider, honestly, for those teams on who is going to be the strongest in the league right now.
Yeah, I think I got my money on Top Esports, at least from what we've seen out of JDG so far, but we'll definitely be keeping my eyes on that match to see how it goes. The Hysterics and Lyric bringing you that one, and I'm a little bit jealous. That is going to be a really good matchup.
It's going to be a solid one, that is for sure. I mean, I've had my money on Top Esports since the start of spring, and when it realistically didn't deserve to be on Top Esports, but I'm excited to see how that one's going to pan out in the end. But when we look at these two compositions in Dagdo as we return to the game at hand, actually, we might have a bit of a 2v2. Peanut taking some damage from Weiwei. They're not going to commit to this one. Obviously, Mole on the Ekko doesn't really want to be fighting just yet.
I actually love this call. So what they're doing is shoving in this mid wave so you can have xiye help at the scuttle. But you want to try and secure it? Peanut does.
Stolen away there by Peanut with the smite. Luckily, there's a lantern from PP.
And now look at the lanes for LGD as well. Langx is pushing in the top lane. So you can just rotate across as Peanut, pick up your second scuttle. And this is why lanes can be so important as a jungler.
Uh-oh, stun here onto Mole, who could be a whole heap of trouble. xiye going to be perfectly healthy on this one, and actually he's in a position where he could freeze up that wave if he wants. ppgod lands a hook, but there's no follow-up because you're a low-level Aphelios. You're not going to do too much just yet.
This is a great start for LGD though, because as you talked about, you know, V5 like to get off to these early starts, but haven't been able to do so quite yet and abuse the jungle matchup in quite the way they wanted to, and especially as we talked about, LGD are the team that wants to hit this mid-game running. this is a good start for them to get Peanut into a decent spot. Not like it's going to be the Trundle falling too far behind against this Graves.
Well, you mentioned Peanut popping up to this top side. He's got his Scuttle Crab. Wants to find himself a big old Iron Giant as well, waiting in the wings here. I think Biubiu smells a rat here. I think he knows something's going on.
Yeah, it's a lot of wasted time by Peanut as well. Look, you're not going to be able to do particularly much. You get the flash out of Biubiu and then look to repeat gank at level 6 when you've actually got some form of CC here. But Biubiu does a good job figuring out, hey, look, something weird is going on here.
I don't like the way he's positioned. I don't like what's going on, and rightly so. Gets away with it from that one, and now you can see Sam D, ppgod, already beginning the siege in the bottom lane. They're looking towards a plate, but I don't think the minions are quite going to be able to finish that one off, so save that one for later.
But Samdi and ppgod are doing well to play around their vision. They got a ward over towards the Grump, so they know they can go aggressive. And we already talked about the pushing power of Aphelios is so much stronger than an Ezreal at this level. So trying to use that advantage that they've got in push and also the support matchup where you can lantern or just play away whenever you want as Samdi and ppgod.
Yeah, I mean, Samdi gonna be... Oh no, there was a minion! Kramer standing right on top of that minion, but the hook is going to find the minion, not the champion.
I'm actually surprised to see them go on to Kramer there. I think they could have gone towards Mark. The W's about to run out and you would have been able to trade aggressively, but fortunately not able to get the hook onto either, so they will back it up, and this Inferno push is still going to keep going, just as Wei is coming down towards this bottom side.
Yeah, I mean, Inferno and Crescendum there. That's a heavy DPS combo of guns if they're able to find a fight, but realistically, I think Mark and Kramer, they're going to respect this one. You're a level 1 or, low-level Ezreal. You're not really going to be looking for these skirmishes.
It does give the opportunity, though, for Weiwei to go for this early dragon that we talked about, and this isn't going to be interrupted anytime soon. Samdi and ppgod have shoved in. They can come and join at any point in time, and Peanut will potentially spot it out here, but it's too little too late.
Well, Peanut arrived last time when he stole away the Scuttle Crab. This time, though, he's going to respect the fact that ppgod is here. Weiwei gets himself this Cloud Drake to start things off. Ocean will be the next one, which means our Soul is either going to be that Infernal or Mountain Drake. So either a lot more damage or a lot more tankiness.
I mean, either is good for these comps, but as a fan, I'd like to see the Inferno. I want to see a little bit more damage and definitely see how much each of these sides can do. But as we start to get towards these first items, you're going to see still V5 in control of this game. It's more so when those second items come in that LGD will really start to come online. So V5 at the moment are still in good shape to continue taking these dragons, potentially go and fight at this Rift Herald as well if they do want to. But LGD actually aren't too far behind when it comes towards the ability of their top lane to fight back, especially because Langx has access to that level 6.
Yeah, Langx is... Oh, in fact, he's just going to use it straight up against Biubiu 1v1 right here. Peanut is arriving. Death Realm still available. Biubiu just going to flash out, heal himself up, and keep himself safe. Actually stunned in the mid lane as well as Mole. Going to be going in on towards xiye. He knows he's got ppgod just waiting off to the side, but they're not going to commit to anything. I think they realized Mark had moved on up as well.
Yeah, both supports were there, and I think that was more ppgod trying to match this roam from Mark. We talked about Mark wants to get out of lane and try and set up some plays with xiye in this mid lane because Kramer's just fine to farm it up using those Mystic shots, but unfortunately not able to make very much happen. So bit of a quiet start for both these teams.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting more from Victory 5, especially in the early game, but I can understand, taking this one slow. I'm a little bit curious about what's happening in the mid lane, though, because we have a pretty significant CS deficit in favor of xiye right now, but it was my understanding that Ekko is a Syndra counter.
But it's counter in quotation marks. So he does well because you can ult, you can get away from a lot of the damage that the Syndra is able to do off of her own ultimate. But realistically, it's still Syndra favored, and you outscale, you become a lot better in the later stages, and that's how you end up winning out. It's just you're fine to get through this laning phase more so, and as long as the Syndra makes no mistakes, or little mistakes, it's still going to be in her favor.
It's actually a turret play that's gone the way of Kramer and Mark, as we saw ppgod and Samdi recalling, but ppgod close to level 6. Samdi already at the level 6, but they could be in trouble because Peanut wants to go for a tower dive right here. In the meantime, Mole is going to go for the 1v1 in the mid lane. We've got action across the board. Samdi stunned on up. There's the damage from Kramer as well. He's happy to sit under this tower all day long, but Mark stayed too long, and it's actually going to be answered 2 for 1 in the end.
Unfortunately, yeah, Mark taking one step too far. There's that counter we were talking about with ulting out as Mole.
I don't feel like it counted to me, mate.
I know, but that's the idea behind it, is you don't die, essentially. And now you got LGD picking up several of these turret plates in the bottom lane, and they got these advantages on towards Kramer, which is going to work wonders for just accelerating him, because when you look towards LGD, the main damage source here is going to be Kramer on this Ezreal.
And it's exciting to see LGD being the ones putting their foot on the accelerator in the earlier stages of this game, because when we came into it, we were looking at the previous games and we were thinking, you know, V5, they've been very aggressive early on. But realistically, we're right at the start of the split. We don't know these teams too well because they have had roster changes. They've had stylistic changes coming into summer. So we're still very much learning these teams along with you guys at home.
And that's the big thing. I mean, look at LGD, for example. You've got Langx is coming in new, xiye is new, Mark is new, and he really does mix up that dynamic so much. And for me, it's why I've actually had a little bit more confidence in LGD coming into this split, because having the consistency, at least in my opinion, in Langx, xiye, and Mark for this bottom lane has leveled up LGD a lot. And it's just about figuring out if that shot calling that we saw in their last game against Eastar was just a couple of mismatches, or if it's an actual issue for this team. But if that shot calling is on point, they've got the talent here to really run up the ranks when it comes towards those playoff spots.
Yeah, I mean, it very much could be an issue of, you know, new squad coming together. Who is the shot caller? Who's the authority within that team? And quite often that can take a little while to fully cement itself. And we'll see. Well, I'll keep my eyes closely on LGD. I'll be watching their career with great interest. But ultimately, I'm also excited for V5 because not necessarily the same level of experience on this team, but definitely a good level of aggression and definitely a good level of talent individually.
I was waiting for you to mention something about their 0-win spring, and then I'd be like, drink! Everyone at home, drink! You gotta get that water into you.
Well, you have accidentally just said it by inferring that I should have said it.
That is also true.
Weiwei is moving into the tri-brush, but he's met with a warm old welcome. The lantern's there, but he has to flash. Hook, though, comes up through, and Mark actually forced to flash away as well. True Shot Barrage goes wide, as does the Moonlight Vigil. But there's a Calibrum to finish off the kill.
A little bit greedy from Kramer. Had the heal available, didn't try to use it to save his support. So at the end of the day, the kill goes over towards V5.
Sam D, Mr. Sniper McGee, 2 kills apiece on the AD carries now, but it's Peanut the one that gets to move over to the Dragon.
You see the gold there on the left-hand side of your screen. So the 2 AD carries are flying ahead of themselves when it comes towards that gold, but Dragons will now be all square off of that play. LGD had the health advantage, so Peanut knew he was safe to go for it. Rift Tower dropped now on this bottom side, though.
And they're just looking to feed this gold to Sam D, get this Aphelios ahead. xiye and Mole just going to be trading back and forth once again in the mid lane. And kind of going even in these trades.
At least,
then again.
So that's the thing, is that xiye has a lot more access to these queues and can make it a little bit more of a pain for Mole. But again, as this game starts to go on, Ekko will then start to get an advantage in this lane. But at the moment, LGD sitting just ever so slightly behind in V5 when it comes to gold. And now they're starting to get towards those items where they can actually really get into their own as LGD. You see the Sheen, the Iceborne Gauntlet, I'd imagine, is going to be coming through for Kramer, and xiye is still looking to pick up that first Luden's Ekko.
One of the things I'm excited about is this next few minutes of the game. One of V5's biggest strengths has been their ability to trade objectives, the way they've played around the map, which is not something you typically expect from rookie players, but they've looked great when it comes to, oh, someone like Biubiu is getting dived by OMG. Okay, we'll drop Herald mid, we'll take 2 towers while you just try and go for a kill. And this presence of mind has been what set this team apart from other newer teams that have just randomly got a couple of wins to the start of the split.
That's what's been the most surprising part, is how well they've slotted in together, just the whole dynamic of the team. But as he said, Weiwei doing a great job of being able to read the enemy jungler, how the map state is going to play out, so they can try and find these advantages. And an awful lot of the times it is off these early game plays where they've turned around what the enemy is attempting to do. I mean, we just saw it in that bottom lane where they were able to get the kill on towards Mark off of a play started by LGD.
Answering the map, answering what's going on, and that's the name of the game for V5. LGD, on the other hand, as they start to get some of these items in, you expect them to start to speed up the pace.
V5, though, want to try and speed up the pace here. They're moving in to get control of this Rift Herald. They've already moved Sam D towards this mid lane, so then they have the support of the AD carry there. Kramer now making his way up as well.
Oh, xiye Gets a nice scat of the week, actually, and keeps himself safe. Electrocute still going to be procced, so it's an even trade, all things considered. Good effort from Mole just to try and make something happen right before this Rift Herald. Peanut moving in. And his team's here as well. We could have a brawl.
The big thing here for V5, though, is as long as they delay LGD from taking anything, well, they've got Biubiu still in the bottom lane. They can just take this turret for themselves for free. LGD getting caught out in this map play.
And this is exactly what we said. V5, despite being this, you know, somewhat rookie squad, obviously there is a little bit of experience in this team. Mole, though, might just be in a whole heap of trouble right here. He's going to have to go for the chrono break, but that pulls him right back into danger. Mark will stun him up, and they'll gift the kill over to xiye.
And now they can look to trade that bottom lane turret for one of their own in this top side. You can see with the play happening on top, Langx isn't convinced that he's not going to be dove, so backs away. But you're still going to trade aggressively here as LGD and get that Rift Herald for yourself as well. I imagine they're about to start it up. There we go.
Yeah, they should be able to kick this one off for themselves with that kill in the mid lane. Peanut the one to start it. Weiwei is hanging around though, and he wants a piece of this action. Peanut takes a blast from the end of the line. And that's actually just going to deter the Herald altogether.
Yeah, xiye is backed away. He wants to go home, build that Luden's Ekko, does have the TP to join in if they want, but now you've got LGD not quite able to use that timing window they would have liked, not able to get the tower on the top side either, so it's a win when all is said and done for V5.
Yeah, they basically traded a kill. This is obviously that kill, and I mean, Mole goes to the chrono break, out of the frying pan, straight into the fire.
Yeah, there's nowhere for Mole to go, but the thing here for V5 is if they want to opt in towards the split push style of play where they've Biubiu, Mole off on a side lane, getting these bottom turrets down is so handy for them because it just creates a lot of pressure on that bottom lane that LGD have to come deal with. And now Mole has the opportunity to go 1v1 against xiye, which he's starting to win out in these trades, and can look to answer for a top lane turret on top of that as well.
Yeah, if he can find the all-in, he can certainly win out against xiye. It's about dodging that scatter of the week, though. And xiye has done a great job so far this game of every single time Mole tries to go in, scatter of the week hits him square in the face.
30 seconds on this next dragon, though, and this is where LGD will be looking to fight. You got the Iceborne Gauntlet completed now for Kramer. On the top side, though, Mole is still trading pretty aggressively against xiye, but teleport is available for xiye if they want to try and make something happen.
I think that is the first trade, though, where Mole has actually got his combo off. He's managed to dodge the damage from xiye, and he wins it because of it.
Well, if I'm V5 here, I trade this dragon. Cool. That's all well and good. LGD get one. They get to their second dragon. I'm going to take Rift Herald. I pop it down in that top lane, take the turret with Mole, and then you've started to really crack open this map and make it difficult for LGD to respond to all these pushing lanes that you have.
Yeah, there's that tier 1 in the mid lane as well. Could be an option for the Herald. I think Weiwei might be moving over there. Peanut finishes this dragon off, but he might end up being late to the party in mid lane. There's the Herald drop down. There are no minions, though. And it means this tower will actually just survive the charge.
Yeah, and I'm surprised to see them try and toss it down so quickly. You knew that LGD were on that dragon, and I think just either cracking open this top lane, they should still get it, would have been a lot nicer, or even just holding on. They're actually not going to get the top lane turret. Holding on to the Rift Herald, so then you had a better opportunity to use it, could have worked out far greater.
Yeah, I think they were under the impression they'd be able to finish that top lane tower off. But as you rightly say, I think just hold on to it, right? Use it at a different time. There's no rush on that one. xiye now arrives to clear out the minions, which means this top lane tier 1 does survive, but I mean, it's still just a stiff breeze from falling over at this point, so they're not going to be too worried about it. Both junglers have moved to the top half of the map, though. We could have a bit of a brawl just to try and defend this tier 1.
Yeah, I mean, look, both of the turrets here for LGD have blinking health bars. It won't be too much of an issue for V5 to get in there and crack them open, but it is just a little bit frustrating that you're not getting that gold nicely into your pockets at the moment. Mole as well sticking around in this top lane for a little bit longer before he can finish off that Lich Bane, so it's V5 just kind of putting the brakes on a little bit for what they'd like to do and getting those items under their belt.
So we're 2-3 on the scoreboard, which I have to say, I was anticipating this being a bit of a bloodbath, especially in the early game, but so far, both teams taking this one steady and taking a calculated approach.
I think now is going to be where we start to see that blood coming in, though. We already said LGD. Well, they've now hit the point where they want to fight. They want to be the aggressive ones. Triforce completed for Langx. We already talked about the items for Ezreal. You've got xiye as well, working up towards his second item, so they're now in a relatively good spot.
Biubiu just about dodges the scat of the week there. Still taking a lot of damage, though, from xiye, who wants to keep this one rolling. Biubiu has that Death Realm if he needs to pull himself to safety, and he's going to go for the 1v1 onto Peanut, but with subjugation in its process, I don't think that Peanut can win this 1v1 right here. Now they're going to go straight onto Mark. He's forced to flash away as in comes Mole, and that's a stun though onto everybody. Scatter the Weak with a Solar Flare, and Mole can't commit to it, has to chrono break out.
It's a win for LGD though. Oh, actually I thought they might have been able to save that top turret. It does go down in the end, but you did get the ults out, so actually V5 coming out ahead.
Oh, go for it, ppgod. He's tanking the tower though. ppgod needs to be careful on that one. I thought he was going to go for the hook, but I think because he was tanking that tower, he had to back away.
So V5 coming out pretty massively ahead in that play. They got the tier 1 tower in the top lane, tier 1 in the mid. They don't quite get the kill in the bottom lane, but it doesn't matter. They get the towers that they want.
Yeah, they are still winning out in that trade back and forth. They're 3-2 on towers at this stage in the game. And the question now is, what's next on the chopping block for V5? This is always the point in the game where I think everyone in solo queue starts to struggle is, all right, we've got the tier 1s, where do we go now?
Well, it's just going to be about this split push. You can see already Biubiu off in this top side. Mole is pushing in that mid. And the whole idea here is to try and see if Mole can shove that wave in far enough to then get a flank in towards the mid lane or to join up with the rest of the team. As the same with Biubiu, it's more about putting pressure on these side lanes so then they can group as a whole and get these fights against LGD.
I feel like we've created bad rules for our drinking game here, Dagda, because there have been no drinks so far. But did you know that V5 actually didn't win any games in spring?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. Is that true? Yeah.
Get it down, yeah.
See, the thing is, 2 of our rules involve the other casters, so we may have limited ourselves a little bit too much with this.
We done goofed. We done goofed. But don't worry, it'll last all split. You can, when they get to Worlds, you can still keep the game going. But let's just kind of recap where we're at here and what the win conditions are for these two teams, because we already mentioned V5. While they have the ability to push the mid game, ultimately, when you look at their composition, they actually do want to scale up. You've got a Graves, you've got an Aphelios. These guys aren't going to fall off.
And that's why they're happy right now to just send these waves back and forth, farm it up, make sure that LGD, as long as they're not able to fight at any of these objectives or get themselves a massive lead in fights, well then you're happy as V5. The big issue though is that dragon that's about to spawn in 30 seconds, because this is where LGD are at their strongest, and you've now got to try and contest with this third dragon.
Yeah, it's a question of principle now. Are you willing to allow LGD to get to Soul Point, or do you want to fight right now? Do you want to fight on the 3rd or the 4th dragon for that?
Well, I would imagine they're going to be looking towards this 3rd one. You can see already Mole and Weiwei here posturing aggressively. You've got Biubiu who's joined them from the top side, but with the waves in the position that they are right now is on that top side, it will eventually crash in towards that top lane turret.
We've got a fight kicking off. Kramer forced to flash away right up at the start, which is an arcane shift. In fact, he's got the red buff, so health regen will be there for him.
And you got the ult out of Mole, so that's a really big tool for Mole in surviving these fights that he's not going to have access to right now. And you can see again that top lane wave is about to crash in, so a lot of gold and experience about to be lost for V5.
Collateral damage was used by Weiwei as well, so this is actually now a very advantageous fight for the side of LGD. As Mole tries to find a way around the back, but Langx is going to block him off. There's a stun onto 2. Solar Flight to follow it up. This is Dragon secured, and now the fight is on. Mark pulled in, but he's invincible on the Leona. There's a kill onto Biubiu. Langx goes in with the knockups. Sam D barely surviving. Moonlight Vigil to push people away. V5 survive, but they lose the Dragon.
They do lose the dragon, and LGD are starting to see if they can collapse onto Weiwei.
Weiwei might not survive. The rest of his team may have, but actually Landon comes through. ppgod to the rescue.
ppgod there to save what could have been a disaster for V5. If Weiwei had gone down, LGD can turn on towards that Baron, and it would have been very bad news for V5, but fortunately, still isn't the best of news. They lost the dragon when all is said and done, and a lot of it came down to those ultimates that were already used in that first engagement and not having anything left in the tank to fight LGD, who really are hitting their point right now.
I'm a little bit surprised that after those ults were on cooldown, they still committed to going for that fight. You know, pulling Mark in, I don't really know if Leona's the target you want to start things off on.
I mean, she wants to be in the fight, right? You just want her to be in the mix, so it's like, oh, cool. I don't have to use my Zenith Blade, or I'm getting closer to your backline to use it. I'm fine with that as Mark. So now LGD, 1 dragon away from that Infernal Soul, and really going to see if now they can get these side lanes in order and make sure they can keep the pressure on towards V5.
See if they can keep this pressure up. And what V5 are going to do to answer. Because realistically, if I'm LGD, I'm not too worried about pushing the pace right now, right? In 3.5 minutes, Dragon Soul's coming up. It's an Infernal Soul. That answers all of our scaling problems. Jobs are good and we win the game. For V5, though, is there anything they can do proactively to get themselves ahead of the game here?
Well, they're doing the right thing here, which is trying to get those side lanes, make sure they're keeping them pushed up, and making sure that LGD can't get in to get complete vision control in the V5 jungle, because that's where they'd really start to struggle. As Peanut here.
Weiwei kicks that one off pretty aggressively, but Peanut, he's on the Trundle, he's going to be relatively safe.
So the thing is that LGD, we haven't already touched on, do actually have quite a bit of pick opportunities with their composition in the Leona, in your Trundle, in the Syndra as well. So, well, nearly point in case. I'm wondering.
Somebody's fine.
Yeah.
I've got to say, he's a braver AD carry than I am, because I would have took that Lantern in a heartbeat, but he's just like, you can pillar me, but I know you're bluffing. You're not going for this one.
He does have the QSS finish, so maybe that's where a lot of that confidence is coming from. I mean, Samdi's been farming up an absolute storm so far and is getting to that stage where you've got to worry about Aphelios doing Aphelios things.
That is true, and check out the weapons he's on right now. Severum, Infernum, but those are going to run out shortly. So when it comes to the actual team fight, he's going to have a different arsenal. And he's hoping for Crescendum and Calibur.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice combo for those team fights, but I have to see if there is going to be any, because I mean, so far it's been not a very aggressive game on either side. We're sitting at 42,000 gold, 43,000 gold, and not a huge amount happening, because every single time LGD are just pushing these waves in, they're being collected by V5, and I don't blame V5 here. They're just looking to get to more of these items where they can be more of a pain when it comes to the 1v1s and in those fights.
Well, you're absolutely right about one thing, Doctor.
What's
It
that?
has been a slow game, hasn't it?
has been.
26 minutes and we've got 6 kills. I was kind of going into this one anticipating that we'd see V5 pushing the aggression in the early game and LGD trying to weather this storm till the mid game and then turning things around. But then once we got into draft, once we got into game, that has not been the case at all. And it's one of the things where I'm excited to see what that means for these two teams in terms of the greater league. You know, it's great to see that they don't have to just play aggressive. But also, I kind of just like watching aggressive teams like that.
I mean, it's kind of funny when you look at LGD versus V-Star versus LGD in this game. They are two completely different styles, but LGD are kind of doing the right thing here, trying to make sure that they get that vision control down. They'd love to be able to get this mid lane turret, but unfortunately with the wave clear that Samdi offers and the fact they need Langx and xiye in these side lanes, they haven't got the opportunity, but you can see they've given up on trying to match Mole in this top side, and they're just going to go for this mid lane turret.
Try and grab that quickly. Langx going to move up towards that top side so that Mole can't try and push a tier 2. LGD find themselves now even on tier 1 towers. The Infernal Drake is spawning in 20 seconds. This would be an Infernal Soul for LGD if they're able to get it.
V5 moving in here, trying to clear out all wards possible so Langx doesn't have a teleport flank. You see he's up in the top side with that TP available. So LGD now hiding in bushes. Mark in particular trying to see who he can catch out here. Set up for xiye.
Mark really wants to start a fight here. He's going to get a stun. Oh, actually stuns him as he goes in, so Mole can't do the damage he wants to. But he chrono breaks so late in the fight, and it pays off massively. In comes the Cyclone onto the back line, though, and it's going to be Sam D going down. ppgod barely survives, and Weiwei is alone. Biubiu versus Peanut in the Death Realm as Weiwei falls, and LGD are large and in charge. They're in control of this game.
And LGD, we talked about that team fight coordination, leaning on the experience of their members, and it all comes to a crescendo in that fight. The TP from Langx was incredible, getting straight onto the back line. Kramer's positioning as well to follow up on Langx's engage to go straight onto Sam D. And even though xiye went down early, he got off his burst. He got off what was the most important part of his kit. And now it's set up LGD, Infernal Soul, and this Baron.
Langx starts it off already, but Peanut is there, and Kramer has easily enough damage to finish this one off. He's already got his death stance. He's 4-0-4. Ezreal can't be found right now. It's 3-9 on the scoreboard, an Infernal Soul and a Baron for LGD.
And this was what we wanted to see out of LGD. This was the shot calling. This was the plays we wanted to see coming through from this team where, okay, we don't want to take these fights unless we have to in the early stages of the game. But now that they've hit the point where they're strongest, they'll go and scrap at every opportunity. So xiye does go down, does get a bit of burst off, but it's onto Mole, so not the biggest of issues. But Kramer here opting aggressively forward to work with Langx. They're able to remove Sam D. And we talked about already Kramer being the big carry for this team. He's the one with the consistent damage. So as long as Kramer is up and he's still looking good, well, LGD are going to come out on top.
Kramer's playing assassin Ezreal right here because he just jumped straight towards the back line. And like ultimately, Sam D was just left out to dry. ppgod was stood right next to him, so the lantern is essentially useless at that point. And this bot lane rookie duo that we've been talking about so much, not really stepping up in that fight.
Well, the problem was they didn't realize there was a Wukong in their backline, and as ppgod, there's very little you can do when Langx gets there, because Thresh, yes, you can play, yes, you can get the hook, but he's spinning the entire time he's in the middle of you. You're not able to get away from Sam D, and it means when that second rotation comes through, it's just as devastating.
Peanut wants a way in on this one. He's not going to find it. As the cannon minion will tick away slightly at the tower. Now the siege really begins. The 4 members strong here for LGD. You've got Langx up in the top side, but 4 members is enough as they start to brute force this inhibitor tower. In the meantime, Biubiu is split pushing.
Yeah, Biubiu.
Oh, Mole's in a whole heap of trouble. Langx as the Cyclone and easily finishes that kill off. Another kill in the top lane means that LGD can keep this ball rolling.
And LGD are going to do just that.
Who
V5,
cares about T2?
Yeah,
Biubiu!
Well, V5 realized, hey, look, we're not going to be able to fight them right here, so they're trying to trade. But the problem is they've traded everything for that tier 2, and now they might lose the base.
They're just not on the same page, though, because if Mole is fighting them, the rest of the team has to as well. Hook goes wide from ppgod. Down go the towers. It's 5v4. V5 have got to try something. They've got 20 seconds until Mole, and that's not going to be quick enough. Onto Biubiu is just removed from the map. Sam D onto the fountain. Moonlight Vigil looks nice, but it's not going to be enough.